Fairyland Stories. Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, in a cozy little village, nestled at the edge of a great green forest, lived a sweet little girl. Everyone who knew her loved her, but the one who loved her most of all was her dear grandmother. One day, her grandmother gave her a special gift, a beautiful little cap made of the softest red velvet. The girl loved it so much that she wore it everywhere she went, and so everyone in the village began to call her Little Red Riding Hood. One sunny morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother called to her. "My dear," she said, "I've just heard that your grandmother is feeling unwell. I've packed a basket with some fresh biscuits and a bottle of wine. I'm sure they will help her feel much better. Will you take them to her?" Little Red Riding Hood was always happy to help. Her mother gave her a hug and said, "Now remember, stay on the path. Don't wander into the forest, and be a good girl. Go straight to grandmother's house, and be sure to greet her politely." Little Red Riding Hood promised she would be very careful. With the basket on her arm, she set off. Her grandmother lived deep in the forest, a good half-hour walk from the village. The birds were singing, the sun was peeking through the tall trees, and everything seemed peaceful. As she skipped along the path, she suddenly came across a wolf. Now, Little Red Riding Hood was a kind and innocent child, and she didn't know that wolves could be dangerous. So she wasn't the least bit afraid. "Good morning, Little Red Riding Hood," said the wolf with a sly smile. "Good morning, Mr. Wolf," she replied politely. "And where are you off to so early in the morning?" he asked. "I'm on my way to my grandmother's house," she explained. "She's not feeling well, so I'm bringing her some wine and biscuits to help her get strong again." The wolf's ears twitched with interest. "And where does your grandmother live, little one?" he asked, trying to sound friendly. "Oh, it's about a 15-minute walk further into the forest," she said innocently. "Her cottage is easy to spot. It stands under 3 large oak trees." The wolf licked his lips. He was thinking to himself, this tender young girl would be a delicious meal, ... even better than the old grandmother. If I'm clever, I can have them both. So the cunning wolf walked alongside her for a little while and said, "Little Red Riding Hood, just look at all these beautiful flowers blooming all around you. Why don't you listen to the birds sing? You're walking along as if you're late for school. The forest is so lovely today." Little Red Riding Hood looked around. Indeed, she saw rays of sunlight dancing on the forest floor and beautiful wildflowers of every color. She thought Grandma would love a fresh bouquet. "It's still early, I have plenty of time. A few flowers won't hurt." And with that thought, she forgot her mother's warning. She stepped off the path and into the meadow to pick the flowers. Every time she picked one, she saw an even prettier one a little further away. And so she wandered deeper and deeper into the forest, completely losing track of time and the path. Meanwhile, the wolf didn't waste a second. He ran straight to the grandmother's house. He crept up to the door and knocked. "Who's there?" called the weak voice of the grandmother from inside. The wolf disguised his voice to sound high and sweet. "It's Little Red Riding Hood. I've brought you wine and biscuits. Please, open the door." The grandmother, too weak to get out of bed, called out, "Just lift the latch, my dear. I can't get up." The wolf lifted the latch, the door swung open, and without a single word he pounced on the poor old woman and swallowed her whole. Then the wicked wolf found the grandmother's nightgown and her frilly nightcap. He put them on, drew the bed curtains closed, and climbed into the bed, waiting. After a while, Little Red Riding Hood had finally gathered a huge armful of flowers. She remembered her grandmother and hurried back towards the path and to the cottage. When she arrived, she was surprised to find the door wide open. As she stepped inside, a strange feeling came over her. The cottage, which was usually so cheerful and cozy, felt eerie and silent. She called out, "Good morning." But there was no answer. Feeling a little scared, she tiptoed to the bedside and pulled back the curtains. There lay her grandmother, but she looked very strange. Her cap was pulled far down over her face, and she was hiding under the covers. "Oh, grandmother," Little Red Riding Hood said, "what big ears you have." The wolf replied in a high, scratchy voice, "The better to hear you with, my child." "But, grandmother," she said, "what big eyes you have, the better to see you with, my dear." "But, grandmother, what large hands you have, the better to hug you with." Little Red Riding Hood took another step closer. "Oh, grandmother, what a terribly big mouth you have." The wolf roared, "The better to eat you with." And with one giant leap, he jumped out of bed and swallowed poor Little Red Riding Hood in a single gulp. With his stomach full from his 2 big meals, the wolf felt very sleepy. He climbed back into the bed, fell fast asleep, and began to snore very, very loudly. Soon after, a hunter was passing by the cottage. He heard the loud snoring and thought to himself, "My goodness, that old woman is snoring terribly. I should probably check if she's all right." He went inside and saw the wolf lying in the bed. "Aha," he whispered. "So there you are, you old villain. I've been looking for you for a long time." He raised his rifle to shoot, but then he had a thought. The wolf's belly was so large and lumpy. What if he had eaten the grandmother? Perhaps she could still be saved. So, instead of shooting, the hunter took a pair of scissors and carefully began to snip open the sleeping wolf's belly. After just a few cuts, he saw a flash of red velvet. With another snip, Little Red Riding Hood jumped out, gasping, "Oh, I was so scared. It was so dark inside the wolf's belly." And right after her, the grandmother came out too, alive but barely able to breathe. Little Red Riding Hood quickly ran outside and gathered some large, heavy stones. They filled the wolf's belly with the stones, and the hunter sewed it back up. When the wolf finally woke up, he felt very thirsty and tried to run to the well, but the stones in his belly were so heavy that he stumbled, fell down, and never got up again. Everyone was overjoyed. The hunter took the wolf's fur as a prize. Grandmother drank the wine and ate the biscuits that Little Red Riding Hood had brought, and she started to feel better almost immediately. As for Little Red Riding Hood, she learned a very important lesson that day. She promised herself, "As long as I live, I will never again stray from the path when my mother has told me not to, and I will always listen to her." And from that day on, she did. And that's the story of Little Red Riding Hood. It reminds us to listen to those who care for us and to be cautious of sweet words from strangers. Thank you so much for joining me for this timeless tale. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories. We'll see you next time.